And are you ready?
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive. Who remembers that famous day and year? He said to his friend,
"If the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch, the north church tower as a signal light.
One if by land and two if by sea.
And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm to every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up and to arm."
he said to his friend,
Good night.
And with muffled oar, silently rowed to the Charleston shore. Just as the moon was over the bay, was swinging wide at her mooring sleigh. The Somerset, British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar crossed the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide.
Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till the silence around him he hears the muster of man at the barn door, and the sound of arms and tramp of feet, measured tread of guardians marching down to their boats of the shore.
Then he climbed to the tower of the church, up the wooden stairs with stealthy tread, to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch. The somber rafters that round him made masses and moving shapes of shade. By the trembling ladder, steep and tall, to the highest window on the wall, he paused to listen and look down. A moment on the roof of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all.
Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead, their night encampments on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear, like a sentinel's tread, the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent and seeming to whisper. For a moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly, all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away where the river widens to meet the bay. A line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, impatient to mount and to ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he gazed on the landscape far and near, now he patted his horse's side, then impetuous stamped the earth, then turned and tightened his saddle girth, but mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the old North Church. As it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still, and lo, as he looked upon the belfry's height, a glimmer, and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight, a second lamp in the belfry burns.
A hurry of hoofs in a village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and from beneath the pebbles and passing a spark, struck out by a steed that flies fearless and fleet, that was all. And yet through the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night. And the spark struck out by that steed in his flight kindled the land into flame with its heat.
He hath left the village and mounted his steep, and beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep, is the mystic meeting the ocean tides. Under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft on the sand, now low on the ledge, is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides.
It was 12 by the village clock. When he crossed the bridge to the Medford town, hear the crowing of the cock, the barking of the farmer's dog, and he felt the depth of the blue fog that rises when the sun goes down.
It was one by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed. And many house windows, blank and bare, gaze at him with spectral glare, as if they would already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon.
It was 2 by the village clock. When we came to the bridge in Concord town, he heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at that bridge would be the first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know
the rest in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load.
So through the night went Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm, to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore.
We're born of the night, of the wind of the past.
Through all our history to the last.
In the hour of darkness and peril and need,
The people will waken and listen to hear
The hurrying hoofbeats of that steed.
and
The midnight message of Paul Revere.